Hey guys, Marcus Katkin here from Blindside Football, back to give you some more of my GPP plays for Week 5. So far I've been doing really great, hammering out some really awesome picks for you guys, a lot of them showing up in the Millie Maker last week. So let's start off with the New England running backs and Dion Lewis, who I think is at extreme value, especially on sites like DraftKings. I think a lot of people are going to be on LeGarrette Blount after his 3-touchdown game a couple weeks ago, kind of be scared off by Lewis, thinking that this is back to being Blount's role, but when the game was close, guys, it was Dion Lewis that was in the game. Blount came in to kind of hammer it home. And I think a lot of people forget that back in Week 2, Dion Lewis had 85% of the snaps to LeGarrette Blount's 8%. This is Dion Lewis's team. They just signed him to a new extension. And then even more than that, there's been a lot of great pass receiving backs that have done really well against the Cowboys this season. Just in the last 2 weeks, they've allowed 244 rushing yards, 4 rushing touchdowns, 19 receptions, 211 receiving yards, and a receiving touchdown to opposing running backs. Some of that coming from a guy who's similar in size to Dion Lewis and Devonta Freeman. These are both guys that are both 5'8", within 10 pounds of each other, very similar type of running back. So I think we could see Dion Lewis have another big game here, in a game that has the highest projected over-under of the week, highest implied point total for the Patriots this week. I think Dion Lewis is going to be heavily involved, and I don't think it's going to take much for him to reach value. And maybe we see LeGarrette Blount later in the game, but I think Dion Lewis hits value before that even happens. So I'm putting Dion Lewis in a lot of my cash games and a lot of my tournaments. Next up, a great tournament play, Mark Ingram. Kind of flying under the radar a lot here, guys, but at least 99 total yards in every game this season. Has been heavily involved in the passing game as well. I talked about him last week on my GPP play video, but this game has a high over-under. It's going to be a high up-tempo game against the Eagles. Eagles like to run a lot of plays, which causes the other team to run a lot of plays as well. So I think Mark Ingram kind of gets involved that way as well. Has hit 3 times value every week on DraftKings, so something to pay attention to there. Next up, Kamar Aiken. Steve Smith's going to be out for this game. Rashad Perriman's out for this game. Crockett Gilmore may be out for this game. So it's looking like Kamar Aiken is going to be the #1 receiving option for the Baltimore Ravens, who another team that's going to project to be scored a lot of points this weekend. They have a very healthy spread here. If they're going to score that many points, somebody's got to be catching the ball for them. Someone has to be scoring. I think it's Kamar Aiken. In his career in the NFL, I know it's a small sample size, but in the 3 games he's had at least 7 targets. He's had 17 points on average in DraftKings. So at a $3,800 value, that's amazing return, guys. I'm all over Kamar Aiken this weekend. Next up, Allen Robinson. After Allen Hurns' big game last week, a lot of people are going to be forgetting about Allen Robinson, but Robinson heavily involved in the passing game. 33 targets over the last 3 weeks, has tons of volume going his way. Just hasn't really gotten a lot going besides from that big Week 2 because he's had tough matchups against tough cornerbacks. He's gone up against Josh Norwood, the #1 cornerback according to Pro Football Focus. He's gone up against Vontae Davis, who we've seen shut down a lot of the top wide receivers. And then, of course, he had that one game where Bill Belichick obviously focused on him as well. And like I mentioned, that 4th game, he blew up big time for 150 yards and 2 touchdowns. Gets another nice matchup here against the Buccaneers. I think he's going to have a good day, guys. The volume's there. And I think him and a Blake Bortles stack could be a really nice GPP play. God, I think I've mentioned Blake Bortles and one of those receivers in the last 3 weeks of these videos, but it's been working out, so let's keep that going. Next up, a really deep play, really low percentage owned guy, Ty Montgomery. I know it's kind of weird that I'm skipping over guys like Randall Cobb and James Jones, but Aaron Rodgers at home on the last couple seasons has averaged 2.75 touchdowns a game. They have a high projected point total as well, and well, I think, Cobb, Jones could get involved in that. Ty Montgomery, kind of that deep sleeper that I think could be really low owned and catch a touchdown or maybe 2. Take Randall Cobb out of the situation. Ty Montgomery has 3 times as many red zone looks this season as any other receiver on the Packers team. So, potential there for the touchdown, guys. Next up, Odell Beckham Jr. I think a lot of people are going to be focused on Julio Jones and his great matchup, that they're not going to realize that at a similar price point, you got OBJ, who has all the potential in the world, as we saw last season, going up against a terrible 49ers secondary. Guys, we've seen it before. He has the talent. They're playing at home. They're favored by a lot of points. So again, someone's got to score. I think OBJ finds the end zone after we saw all 3 other or excuse me, two other Giants receivers, wide receivers scored the end zone last week. I think OBJ finds it this weekend. A couple of tight ends for you. Owen Daniels. Just everybody keep starting your tight ends against Oakland. It's been fantasy gold. The tight end against Oakland has been the number 2 or better fantasy tight end this year every week. Tight end 1 or tight end 2 every week. This week it's Owen Daniels that gets the job. He's got a great passing quarterback in Peyton Manning. He scored a touchdown each of the last 2 weeks. I think he makes it 3 in a row here and gets into the end zone again. And really cheap on both sites, FanDuel and DraftKings. Last up, Antonio Gates coming back from suspension. I think a lot of people are going to be doing the Phillip Rivers, Keenan Allen stack, but don't forget a Phillip Rivers and Antonio Gates stack. It's sounding like Stevie Johnson's going to be out of this game. Malcolm Floyd is going to play, but he's still kind of a little banged up. So I think we see a lot of 2 tight end sets, Ladarius Green and Antonio Gates. And Antonio Gates, I think, comes back fresh and ready to go, and I think he scores a touchdown here. And for some reason, I'm seeing a 5 for 80 day and a touchdown, which is great value at his price point. Don't forget to catch my cash game plays on the website, guys. Go check those out at blindsidefootball.com, and good luck this weekend.